Hello guys, welcome to PiG Daily, episode number 114. And this is one for you Protoss players. Today we're going to be looking at how to defend Zerg bullshit, aka how to take a fast third base in Protoss versus Zerg. Something a lot of players have been struggling with. And I think in general there's been a big culture of Protoss not necessarily too happy with what's happened to their race in Legacy of the Void. On the other hand, I think Protoss has always been this very odd, different, weird race. And whilst there are new challenges in Legacy of the Void, I think it's just not helpful to just kind of sit there and complain about it. And I think there really has kind of become a culture of complaining with Protoss recently. And there's always some justified complaining in any competitive video game. There's always, this is a little bit unfair here or something like that, right? There's always things you can be annoyed at design-wise. But I've been playing StarCraft 2 now for 6 years. The last, 8 months now, 7 months, I've been playing all three races. But before that, I was playing Zerg. So yeah, I've been playing StarCraft 2, did I say 8 years? Like 6.5 years, as long as the game has been out. And throughout that time, I've seen people just crying about all manner of things. And that's normally like an individually unhealthy attitude. But I think especially when an entire race starts whining, like the majority of the people on the forums and in the community, that's where things start to get very difficult. Because it's a game which we learn together as a group. Everyone, you run into a wall, you just can't win a certain matchup. You always turn to Reddit or Team Liquid or your clan or a friend that plays, a practice partner, and you start asking them about it or telling them about your problems. And you kind of throw out potential solutions. You're like, hey, check out this guy's video or check out this VOD of Zest doing this brand new build, this like 2-base double forged Colossus PvT build and stuff, and you start to solve these problems. And I've lived through many periods where that whole kind of let's help each other improve thing just disappears. There have been many Zerg periods, I remember, where myself being part of the problem, we would just whine and just, oh my god, you would use anything as an excuse. You just get in this like negative mindset and you're just like, This is just bullshit. This is just unfair. Like, because it's just unfair. And like you just honestly you make up like the dumbest excuses as well. And this is something like I've seen Terrans do, I've seen Protoss do, I've seen Zergs do. There's always a point where something is difficult in the meta. The answer isn't very obvious, and it turns into this huge circle jerk of everyone of that one race being like, this is impossible. This is unfair. This is just like, this is not legitimate. This game's shit. I want to show you guys, just to show that I'm not distancing myself from this sort of behavior. I've done the same things. I'm going to show you guys one of the most embarrassing clips of myself ever. Oh, and of course I forgot to set it up properly, so let me... There we go. This is from 2011.
It's about why Terran is broken and why Blizzard are fucking douchebags. So, yeah, basically, as you can...
Okay, this is like the introduction to like the precursor to the Pig Daily, right? Pig's Point of View, episode 6. The name of the VOD is Why Terran is Broken and Blizzard are Douchebags. And it's 15 minutes of me watching a game of Nurtio versus like Goody or someone who's playing mech. And he makes quite a lot of huge errors, and I'm completely blind to all the errors Nurtio makes. I'm like, it's just fucking bullshit. Even though he did all this damage, Terran just have mules, and it's unfair. So this is the most embarrassing video for me to watch, because it's like, oh my god, not only did you think this really toxic stuff, but you actually made a video of it as well. You saved that shit. If you guys want to find that, you can go deep enough in my YouTube channel. It's right down there at the bottom. So yeah, basically, what often happens is when things get difficult and it starts being this circle jerk of people complaining, people all start whining about one thing, and there's like, there's no solution, and people start just kind of throwing out random pieces of asymmetry, like oh, mules are just broken, like it's just unfair. And you got to remember, StarCraft is filled with super powerful things for every race. They're all hard to stop. Every race has its own powerful things. The whole game is about using your overpowered things, stopping your opponent's overpowered things, learning to deal with them, and so on. That's part of StarCraft. And definitely when things aren't going your way, when you're not playing properly, it can feel pretty brutal. But that's part of the big challenge of StarCraft, is keeping that positive mindset. So I just wanted to go over that. Sorry, wrong overlay. I just wanted to go over that a little bit and just kind of make it clear to everyone that if you're on a forum and people are saying there's no way to scout against Zerg in PvZ. I have no idea what's coming. I have to just get lucky with hoping I can see what's happening. There's no way to stop Zerg unless I see it coming. These are all phrases. I'm not having a go at the Protoss community. I'm simply pointing out I've seen way too much of this stuff. There'll be people posting threads, hey, how do I fight against Zerg? On all things Protoss or other subreddits, or on the Team Liquid strategy forums, and there will be like a dozen responses basically just saying this sort of negative stuff. Like they'll give like one positive point, like, well, if you do this, it kind of works for me. But on the other hand, here's 10 points why the matchup's broken. So today I want to show you guys just a couple of simple things to help get past this mental block and to really tighten up your PvZ. And especially from when you hit about Platinum League, this becomes really important if you want to actually be playing a solid build order, getting a fast third base consistently. So let's stop dilly-dallying and just talking about random stuff. I just wanted to kind of cover that before we dived into game. But let's dive into game now. And let's look at a whole range of Protoss bullshit, Zerg bullshit, and we're going to look at how I stop it. We're also going to be looking at all of this in the context of a fast, adept glaive opening, because this is one of the most solid classic openings. It's one of the safest openings in Legacy of the Void. So I've basically asked my friend to do a whole bunch of all-ins to me yesterday. This is Vodge over here. Shout out to Vodge. Good guy, Vodge. But yeah. Essentially what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk you through the opening, and then we're going to look at details. More than anything else, we're going to look at the details of how you defend the bullshit. How do you stop the random Zergling drops? How do you stop the Baneling busts that you don't see until they're at your base? How do you stop the Ravagerling all-ins? And it's all about those tiny details. So guys, to go over the opening very quickly, this is a Glaive Adept opening. I talk about this in a video where I talk about Neeb's Oops, I Killed You Adept opening in PvZ a while ago. But I'm going to put a replay up on Imber Builds, so if you're watching on YouTube, check the comments. Sorry, did I say Imber Builds? What is wrong with my brain this morning? Spawning tool. Imber Builds. Oh my god, I haven't heard of that website in a while. I don't know if they're still active. Maybe they are. But yeah, I'm going to put it up, so check down the comments below for Spawning tool. If you're not sure how to do a Glaive Adept opening, this is going to be it. So just to give you guys the cliff notes. You go for a pylon on the low ground. You really need to practice your wall-offs. If you don't know how to wall off your natural properly, go check out my daily from the other day. I'll also link that down below on walling off properly in PvZ on the current map pool. So you always want your big, thick structures in the front, and preferably your pylons protected as much as possible on the back. This is a wide ramp, so you always have to have one pylon in the wall, but I'm going to do the best I can. So guys, build order cliff notes. What are we looking at? It is going to be gate, gas, obviously keeping up constant probe production, and then you only pause probes once you go 19 Nexus, 20 Cybercore. You want to chrono boost out an Adept, start Warp Gate research, and from there you want to go non-stop Adept production. Now you very easily could put your second pylon at the front to reinforce your wall, or in this case I'm going to put a pylon there, but you don't need it for a long time. Why? Because you're always going to scout after your pylon or gateway, and if you see hatch gas pool, then you know it isn't going to be until 3 minutes 30 when Zergling speed finishes, and that's when you need to start worrying about a potential Zergling flood. So up to that point, you're just kind of chilling. I like to put my second pylon in the main, so I can always overcharge that, and it'll cover most of the mineral line. I've got a Twilight Council that goes down with my first 100 gas after starting that Adept and that Warp Gate research. I then want to just constantly build Adepts, keeping the chrono boost on it for at least 2 or 3 Adepts popping out. My Adept will go across the map, scout the third base, and then it'll just kind of go home. If you want to get fancy, you can go in and try to pressure with it. Here I could have made the effort to walk over to the natural and run in and check the drone count on the natural, and that would have given me a little bit more information as well. But even without bothering to do that, if you're on a big map, if you're on a 4-player map, maybe it takes you a bit longer to get over there. Maybe you're really obsessed with keeping the Adept alive, you don't do that. But normally, you would walk to here, and you would shade away, and then walk in with your Adept and look at that drone count. But even without that knowledge, I am still going to hold on. Check this out. I didn't scout, and he's going for a Roachling all in. So this is actually me making a mistake, and I'm still going to show you guys exactly how to defend. So behind this, you've gone for you chrono boost on your Adept attack speed. You get 2 more gateways. You put down a pylon at a third base. You want to start your mothership core immediately after the third base goes down. This is where, once again, my mothership core was a little bit late. And then you want to keep warping in adepts, and you want to go for a big 6 or 7 adept pressure. You want to go across the map with these guys as soon as you got them out and try to attack your opponent. So I'm about to shade across here. He comes in, and I go, oh shit. Oh shit. Okay, there's a crazy all-in coming. What am I going to do here? And this is where details start to come into place. So, first rule is always stay calm and never give up. Let's keep that in mind as we watch everything else that happens here. We're going to talk about so many tiny details that will help you defend these situations, but those are the most important. Stay calm and don't give up. The number of players I see give up when they're actually ahead in workers just because they lost their third base, and I'm like, do you realize that the Zerg player has terrible economy? So let's put that in context quickly before we go into those details. 27 drones versus 43. Even if I lose this third, I'm still in a great position. Even though Zerg can then drone up his third, if I just like retake my third, I'm fine. However, most of the time you can still defend these attacks. So, droning is looking terrible. He's down 16 workers, he's super all in, doesn't even have a third queen, he's got to do massive damage here. So all I want to do is just move backwards and stutter step against these Zerglings. And you just want to try to focus fire the Zerglings. You don't need to actually click on them, but as long as you move, shoot, the Zerglings will naturally be the targets because they're the closer units. Of course, you want to use overcharges to help zone out your opponent as well. And what we're going to see in this game is me actually make a lot of mistakes. So right now I have 500 minerals in the bank. Where's my robotics? Where's my stargates? So this is something where I'm talking about this opening. From this opening, you can do whatever you want, right? This isn't really focused on the exact opening build order, though that is something which will give you a solid defense all the time. But I'm just kind of doing this as a, okay, do an adept opening. From there, you can go stargates, you can go robo. There's heaps of different tech paths which you can choose to go to, and they will all defend just fine. But it's always important you do drop that tech a little bit after your third base goes down, usually as your adepts are pushing across the map. So number one, that's a little bit late this game. But after you drop that, a lot of people going double Stargate actually after their adept pressure lately and going for a slightly later third. But with this build, you normally want to go for, say, a robotics down here or something like that. People will always say, oh, isn't that too exposed? Nope, you should always be able to hang on to your third. It'll be fine. So generally, you'd be building those units, but you can see I've got 500 minerals. So even if I'd put down a robo, at this point, I should be dropping more gateways. I should always be going up to 7 gateways at this point. You've got 3 gateways from earlier, but you always want to be going up to 7 gateways soon after dropping your tech and having that third base down. And that's going to allow you to just keep warping in units. Now, all you want to do is keep building adepts. Because whenever you look at this sort of attack, and really any sort of really fast Zerg attack like this, the Zerg is always relying on the Zerglings to reinforce, because Roaches, Ravagers are just going to take way too long to get across that map. So it's all about just masses of Zerglings. Once you get rid of the Zerglings, the Roaches and Ravagers really do not have that much firepower. Oh man, tanking some terrible adept shots. I told you guys I made quite a few mistakes here. I was a little bit slow to stutter step my adepts there as well, which is why they actually got, they were shooting the Roaches a little bit rather than the Zerglings, and the Zerglings were able to do a good amount of damage. So I'm just continuing to overcharge. Never on the weak pylon, always on a pylon that's at least slightly protected or, won't just go down immediately. And my mothership core, I'm going to target this on the Ravagers. So already we're seeing a detail. Mothership, target on the Ravagers. Now what's the other one? Adepts never move into the open. You always want to, with your pylon placement at your third, create choke points. Now this pylon here is nice because you can wedge adepts in there between the Nexus and the pylon. Normally, when I'm taking that third, let's go back a little bit. You can see back here that the adepts are always staying in these wedges here. Always limit the surface area of Zerg, because the way Zerg kills you is by surrounding those adepts and killing them all suddenly at once. So you're always using these areas, and then later on you're really using this area in your mineral line, and you want to add more pylons, like another pylon there, another pylon here. These sort of buildings are really good. A lot of the time what I'll do is I'll specifically put a robotics or a tech structure or gateways like so there is a single space gap between the tech structure and the Nexus. And that single space gap is a fantastic place for you to just abuse that so Zerglings, Roaches can't get in on top of your army. So let's go back up to that present point here at 5 minutes 30. And this is where I start to make a huge error. And I'm not sitting in that choke point. Yes, you can come out a little bit, but then you've always got to move back into that area. Never get cocky. Always move in. You can see I'm adding a robotics now. It's a bit awkwardly placed. I was a little bit panicked dealing with this. But once again, 800 minerals. Imagine if I could warp in 4 or 5 more adepts right now. And here's the biggest mistake. I get lured out here trying to snipe that Ravager. And I let all these adepts get surrounded. And remember, adepts aren't charge lots. They don't actually have that much damage. It's just really good at if the enemy can't surround them. Then they will be able to kill Zerglings very quickly. But here, I got all my Zerglings surrounded. Everything's dying. And suddenly, it's like, oh my god. I messed up so badly. That one moment of making a terrible decision of moving into the open, and it looks like I'm actually going to be dead. And I remember thinking, oh god, I screwed up, I'm dead. But remember, never give up. Even though I've made multiple mistakes this game for him to even do this much damage, I'm still at 51 probes versus 27 drones. I'm rebuilding my robotics, I'm walling off behind. And these little details, walling off when your opponent's trying to break your natural, these are things I constantly see people forgetting when they're under pressure because they throw their arms up in the air and go, oh my god, Zerg's bullshit. I've lost the game. He's on 3 base, I'm only on 2. But especially if I was still building Immortals or something like that, I would be able to overwhelm 100%. So here, once again, I move these Adepts out a little bit too far. Luckily though, I've got more gateways up in my main base now. I'm able to morph in more Adepts. And because I am still mining a lot more resources than my opponent, I'm actually able to take decent trades here because I'm just warping in so many Adepts now. And you can see that even though Adepts don't do well versus Roaches, Roaches don't really do well versus Adepts either. They both take forever to kill each other. Now I move out here with a bit of a ballsy move out. This is another mistake. There's no reason for me to chase there. I'm just getting way too cocky. And this kind of comes back to my attitude against Zerg, I think, as Protoss, where as someone who plays both sides of the matchup, I know intrinsically how to stop these pushes. I know exactly what to do. And I know that once they've been held, you can kind of do just about anything as Protoss, which is why I often get cocky and make dumb mistakes, is because I actually like treat these pushes with so little respect. And from here, you basically just make units. Now, whenever you do defend a push, it's always hard. A lot of players say, oh, you know, if I don't have vision, I don't have any scouting right now. I don't know what my opponent's doing. I don't have any game sense right now. You know, after dealing with all that, you have no idea how many drones he's squeezed in behind that. And I don't know that he's actually still only on 36 drones right now. He's got next to no economy. So notice I put the mothership core out front because I want to spot his attacks coming a little bit early. So that mothership core is constantly out there. It's looking for his attacks coming, trying to get vision of that. And behind this, I've added in sentries because I had extra energy. I'm building Immortals off that extra robo I built to replace the first one. And I'm just morphing more Adepts because they're a generally good unit. Now, here's a really good thing which you need to remember. Whenever you're holding an attack, whenever you're stabilizing, the first thing you have to do is drop a Templar Archives the moment you start stabilizing versus an attack, because you will always be banking up a lot of gas because all you've been doing is making Adepts, Adepts, Adepts. Lots of minerals, not a lot of gas. Suddenly, when that Templar Archives finishes, you really want to go and counter push your opponent. You want to have some beefier, higher quality units out, and you will have the gas to be able to do that. So we're going to see in the next few seconds here, I'm going to start warping in Archons. And Archons and Immortals together just absolutely obliterate this Zerg force. The Archons will make quick work of the Zerglings. The Immortals just won't die. Notice my Mothership Core is still moving out there. It's still tracking this army. And you don't need to necessarily attack with it. What you'll see me actually do sometimes, if they keep doing Corrosive Bile, and I don't have the APM to keep dodging, I will get my Mothership Core and I will shift click. I'll go click, 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 click. I'll tell it to move in a little box so that the Mothership Core is hard for them to figure out its movement path. It's hard for them to figure out, you know, where to put the Corrosive Bile in front of it. Or I'll just click it back and forwards a few times so that it keeps moving and it becomes a very hard target for them to hit. So you can see here, basically just going to add in Archons, add in Immortals, and I'm not really going for any further tech. I'm not going for a fourth base. I don't feel the need to do that. And the reason is, think about this, right? Your vision is limited, but you always know through your game sense that the Zerg has cut a lot of economy to put into this, but he could be very greedy behind that. He could build dozens of drones. So if you don't have, say, a Stargate follow-up where you can run across the map with an Oracle or a Phoenix and see what's going on, if you don't have any Sentry energy to send a hallucination, one option is a Warp Prism. You want to get a Warp Prism out, go across the map, start doing some harassment, and most importantly, see what the hell's going on. Is he taking all his gases? Is there a Spire down? Do I need to prepare for mutas? What is happening? But if you don't have any of that, like in this game, my Robo died, remember? I was in that, what seemed like a terrible position, and I don't really have any vision except the Mothership Core just seeing what's coming into my base. So my whole game plan here is build a bunch of Adepts, build a bunch of Archons and Immortals, and then go kill him. And it's not necessarily completely all in, because I know that he's committed a lot to the attack. And seriously, I have a full respect for just how hard it is for a Zerg to deal with Archons and Immortals on this shitty tier army that he built early on. I know Zergling's just not going to do a lot against this. I know it's hard for him to afford Banelings to get rid of the Adepts. And I know that he's probably so busy droning that he can't deal with this. Little did I know, he actually hasn't been droning at all. He's only been massing units. So when I go out here to chase his army because I want to start pushing and fighting him, I want to stop him being greedy, I actually just overwhelm his entire force and it all starts coming together. And that one's over. So that one was simple enough. So let's take a look at a couple more games here and let's look at a few different points. And I want to go into a bit more detail on these tiny details of how you're moving those Adepts, how you kind of wedge your units, just don't give them surface area, and how you do all of this stuff. So we're going to look at one where it's a big Ling Bane attack on the third, rather than that attack there where it was much more focused on trying to kind of just straight up kill me, preferably. We're going to look at one where the Zerg player tries to come with their Ling Bane. There's a little bit of banter going on in chat. So I'm going to put this on my camera so you guys can appreciate it from my perspective, just this part of the opening. I'm going to glance at my notes and make sure we've covered some of the points which I wanted to talk about in that first replay. So obviously continually warping in is very important as well. Notice how I kept talking about how you keep pulling back from your opponent. You want to keep pulling back. So let's get up to the aggression. So once again, you'll see this same pattern, guys. Scout the third. Look, I was so lazy yesterday when I was doing this. I wasn't scouting the natural drone count at all. But imagine you scout and you say, oh, that looks like a pretty normal count of drones. Yeah. Because they can still do these big attacks and make it look relatively normal. They can also do things like pull a few drones out of the main, put them on the natural mineral line, that sort of stuff. So I'm just kind of going on my normal path, and notice this same pattern, guys. Adepts are wedged in the gap between the minerals. Always getting that pylon to help kind of create a wall off there between the Nexus and it.
Research complete.
Here's a cute little move. I'm sending these shades out, and this is specifically just to see if there's more Zerglings coming. If you don't have the APM to do that, you don't need to do that stuff, but it is really helpful. So the Nexus does finally go down, and you should always immediately start a Mothership Core. Maybe this was the game where the Mothership Core was actually quite late. We'll see. Yeah, the Mothership Core is very late this game. You're meant to start that the moment that Nexus goes down. So here's a mistake. Oh my god, no Mothership Core. But that's fine, because these Adepts are going to go across, they're going to pressure. Notice this time I'm putting the Robo down at the third a lot quicker. Warping in sentries at home. Of course, you could warp in more Adepts and pressure harder if you wanted to, but always leave a unit in your wall. Once again, guys, solid wall. Just one weak point on the north side of the wall, very easy to wall in behind that with extra gateways. And I actually don't do well with my pressure here. My Adepts go in, they kind of get Zerglings on top of them straight away and Queens. Take a fair amount of damage. They trade off well for Zerglings, but not amazingly. And all I really spot here is that he's on Baneling tech. I don't really see anything else. Get a couple drones, kill a lot of Zerglings. Don't have many units at home. My Mothership Core's just come out, only has enough for one overcharge. So I'm just building Immortals, building Adepts, continuing to build Probes 3 at a time. And remember, after your tech structure's down, you always drop 4 more gateways and go up to 7 gates. This is just a solid opening. Whether you're going Stargate, whatever your transition is, you always want to add those 4 more gateways. Very occasionally, you will see pro players where because their opponent, the Zerg, you know, they've got vision out on him, or they know he can't be aggressive, they won't feel like they need to do that. They'll feel like they can delay the extra gateways, get out Forges, Templar Archives, and then drop the gateways. But for your regular level Zerg player, especially if you don't have full vision of what's going on, you don't want to be doing that. You just want to play it nice and safe for the extra 4 gateways. Now, here I'm completely blindsided by an attack. And once again, you can see I try to get back down into this safe zone, but because there were Banelings already on top of my Adepts, I couldn't clump up, so instead I was forced to spread my units out there. And let's look at some of these details. So completely surprised by this attack. Let's look at the details of my setup. Remember, I was ready for a Ling Flood when I was first taking the third by having the Adepts in the gap. I'm always ready for all the bullshit Zerg can send at me. Now at this point, I'm going to send the Mothership Core out to the left because I'm like, there could be a counterattack. I want forward warning. Now that's not reliable. We see he actually went around the north side, so my Mothership Core didn't give me warning. But that's fine. I'm still just here. And the moment I see what's going on, let's watch my camera. Now what you're going to see is I immediately try to pull these units back, try to get them down there, have to just spread the Adepts out, drop an overcharge. And I want to get back down below that pylon in that third base. Now I realize, because he's already in between my bases, my natural is a sort of weak point. I want my units to clump up down here, use this Sim City, you know, if they have to spread, they have to spread, but do it in these enclosed spaces where Zerglings can't surround them. So I already have completely anticipated that my natural wall's a weak point. Every time your opponent goes for your natural, I see people just move their whole army out from their third into the open, and then the Zerg turns around from the ramp, surrounds the Protoss army, and annihilates them. But all you need to do here is buy time. Remember that, guys. All you need to do is buy time. Every unit that pops out is worth so much more than these shitty early tier Zerg units that don't have any upgrades. So all you need to do is wall off and buy a little bit of time. So gateway, put down another gateway up there as well, should be the right call. Banelings are going to run into my third base. I run the probes away. I'm losing units, but overcharge is super powerful. I'm warping in more Adepts. I didn't end up putting an extra gateway down up there because his Banelings turned around. I've got all these gateways now transformed, so now I can start making 7 Adepts at a time. I'm even going to make a few more sentries first. And this is where your army just becomes insanely powerful, you know. My Mothership Core is still looking for anything he's sending my way. I know that if he tries to come in here, force fields are going to be great to defend this base. So just sitting in here, in this nice little strong point. I cancelled the gateway before because he'd pulled back, and now I'm replacing that gate. Here's where I make a mistake. Wasn't watching. And a Zergling drop comes into my main base, and stuff starts to get really hard here. So let's watch how I deal with this. I'm actually sending a Warp Prism across the map. I still haven't realized that drops in my main. Because I didn't have enough gas to build an Immortal, I believe, right at the point, I decided to just squeeze out a Warp Prism because I felt so confident in holding what was going on. Archons are down, Force Fields are down. And I just lost all of the probes in my main base without even realizing it. So check this out. Check out how monumental some of the mistakes I make are and how I just come back from this anyway. Let's just watch this from the Zerglings. Look at that. 0 micro. All I need to do is warp in 2 or 3 Adepts here. A-move the probes. And that's defended. That's just terrible awareness by me. And yet even at the end of that, I'm still way ahead. And this is how it is with Zerg bullshit. The amount of stuff you can absorb and still be in a great position is really impressive. So my probe's running from my natural to my third. My units are trying to run back into my main to defend what's going on. Warping in Adepts up there. He's going to come in here with Banelings, pulling those probes back. Of course, you can see if you let the game get this messy, if you make the big mistake of not reacting to that Zergling drop, stuff becomes a lot harder. And this is where camera hotkeys do actually help you a lot whenever you are dealing with a very messy position. And this is where, if you don't have the mechanics to rely on instantly responding to stuff, you can be a little bit safer with things. You can try and rely on things a little bit more, like leaving that gateway wall up the entire time. He's from New Zealand, so he's actually just joking, saying that. But yeah. Lots of details in how we hold these pushes. Lots of little things that come together, and it's lots of staying calm and not moving your army into the open. That's like the number one thing, I think, is players just not walling off their natural properly is always such a big one as well. Because if that natural's not walled off, bam, he breaks through. Suddenly he floods on in. We saw just a single Zergling drop there made my life so hard because I wasn't ready for it. So you've kind of got to always wall off your naturals so damn well. Always pay attention to these small little things and just try to focus on doing that well. And the thing is, if you actually, like, these are messy games specifically, which I wanted to show you guys because I don't play adept openings at the moment. This is something I haven't done in a while. So this is not super clean play for me. I wanted to show you guys how to deal with situations when they are a little bit messy, when it is something I haven't really practiced with the adepts lately. So I'm going across with an adept pressure and it's not doing that much damage. I'm not getting the most value out of it. So looking through my notes, and I want to see a few other things. So pylon placement at the third was very important in those last games. Pylons creating choke points. Knowing your wall offs is really good. Of course, always using the same wall off on this map, for instance. Always scouting with the probe to see exactly what's going on. Another thing, guys, which I've been very lazy in almost all of these maps. This is something which keeps killing me lately because I'm so lazy with it. Is what about Zergling drops? Zergling drops is something people always ask about. Well, if they just keep killing me with Zergling drops. And the new maps, there's a lot of spots for them. Normally, a patrol pathed second or third adept. So let's go to the point of the build where you should be watching for this. So normally, let's fast forward. You build one adept. Your second adept should 100%, after it clears up, your second, or you could use your third adept if you'd rather this guy sit in the wall, if that just makes you more comfortable, though you don't really need anything in your wall at this point. But let's say your third adept. Your third adept should always go straight into your main base, and you can just say patrol from here to here. And that way you will spot a drop coming in. If you see an overlord coming in with Zerglings, grab a few probes, 4 or 5, if you don't have any units to spare, and just bring them over. And them combined, attack moving with the adept, will just one-shot the Zerglings as they come out. Let's actually do the maths on that real quickly, guys, because I actually haven't done the maths, but I normally just grab 5 and it works out. But if you want it to be super clean, think about it. An adept does, is it 22 damage to light? 22 damage to light. A Zergling has 35 hit points plus regen. It'll automatically regenerate 1 hit point. So counted as 36 hit points. So that means there's 14 hit points remaining after the adept hits it. 14 hit points, each probe does 5 damage. That means you literally only need 3 probes with an adept to one-shot a Zergling as it pops out. One-shot a Zergling as it pops out. However, because probes don't actually attack that fast, it's usually better to have a couple of extra, which is why, you have 4 or 5 probes just to be nice and safe. But it's cool to think about that, right? Because then you're like, okay, if the Overlord drops Zerglings right on top of the adept, it's like attack. Attack. Shit, there's like 4 Zerglings on me. Attack. It'll kill 3 or 4 Zerglings, but it won't do any more than that. So it's important to remember these cute little things. But pulling probes in for the defense is actually really powerful. So always have a unit spotting for that. And if you can't spare a unit, maybe you lost an early adept, maybe you're about to go move out and pressure, you can always just grab a probe, and from 4 minutes is the important moment. About 3 minutes 30, 4 minutes, you want to have that unit patrolling from here to down here. It's very rare your opponent will drop any earlier than that. Now, this game is good because this is actually not talking about how to take a third base. This is just going over a very basic reaction because I know people are going to ask me about this one. Where I scouted with the adept. I came across, I checked this base, no expansion. I checked this base, no expansion. And I then shaded in. And this was actually a mistake. I didn't want to commit to this shade. Basically, just seeing no expansions, I already know that I'm up against something very aggressive, especially if you just shade it in and check the worker saturation on the natural. If you don't see a massive count of workers, you know that he's not doing some weird 2-base tech build. 2-base tech build's usually pretty terrible anyway, because there's just not enough economy to support those units. But I will come in here with this adept and I will go, oh, that's a Roach Warren. Yep, okay, cool. I know what I'm up against. I'm up against some, 2-base Roachling. So how do I react to that? Number 1, I will immediately start a Mothership Core. Number 2, I will sit at home with my adepts in my wall in. Number 3, I will add more pylons to reinforce my wall. And that's about it. I'm just going to keep making adepts, maybe some stalkers as well, since I've got such a good wall to defend. And notice I'm saving my overcharge. I'm not just popping overcharge on the first few units. I probably should have dropped it by now. But just buying my time, and notice the Mothership Core is going to kill a Ravager. Always clicking that Mothership Core on the Ravagers whenever I can. So I'm going to try and kill that Ravager Cocoon before it finishes morphing. And you notice that's actually really big, if I can get it. Oh, it just barely finished morphing. It was on 1 hit point. But look at this. If he commits, only then will I overcharge. I still haven't dropped a single overcharge. And now I go, you know what? Okay, it's time. Let's overcharge. And he's even skipped Zergling speed this game. So this is like a super weird all-in. This is not particularly well executed from him. And then I just start going, let's just move out, chase you out. And it's over. So if you do scout one of these 2 base attacks, just make units. Simply having a tight opening is the big difference here. I know there's going to be some players watching who aren't the highest level, who don't have a tight PvZ opening, and they say, well, when I just try to build units, they just overwhelm me. And it just comes back to refining your build a little bit. It's something where in Legacy of the Void, you really do want to refine your openings more and more. You want to be really tight. Having this set 3 gateway timing, so they're very early, having the constant units building out of the first gateway, it just gives you enough stuff that you're going to be able to hold on. Whereas the number one thing I see from Protoss players who are taking massive damage early on is players just do not have any units out. The Zerg doesn't, a big cheeky all-in, might not be the best executed, but the Protoss just has 0 units. Almost nothing at home at all. And that's usually the problem. Speaking of drops in the main base, I was like, okay, he might be doing that, but I want to keep all my units at the front. So notice this probe on that patrol path so that I get early warning of a drop coming in. So even while the fighting's happening at the front, at some point I realize, hey, there's an Overlord coming into my main, and we're going to see me react by warping in a Stalker and a couple of Adepts. A bit messy with my Stalker. It was a little bit slow. It shouldn't have gone over there and got itself killed. But these Zerglings not really going to be able to achieve anything. Just about always covering these options. Every game, be watching for a Ling drop, even if it's not an all-in. Every game, go for 3 gateway pressure, and you will be very safe and solid. Of course, going out here with my army, once again, this is what I was talking about in that first game. I get a little bit cocky, I get a bit overeager, because I know how screwed the Zerg is after the first wave doesn't work. So I often make this mistake where I get a bit too excited, I chase them a bit too far, and that does actually slow down me winning the game. But I'm still ahead, I'm still in a great position, even with that overexcitement that I often show. So continually warping in is big, continually building pylons, especially with these frontal pushes. So let's focus on that frontal push a little bit more. If he was on a different map where maybe his units could have wedged in a little bit earlier, and he was actually able to start breaking down the ramp a bit more, I may have built more gateways as well. You'll notice so many pylons going down. Because they're always going to focus your pylons, you need to build so many pylons. Whenever you're getting attacked by a Zerg, the first thing you should be doing is dropping pylons. That is one of these details which I often see players forgetting when they're dying. It's, oh, this is so bullshit. And I'm like, well, you were supply blocked for 50% of the time the Zerg was rushing you. How can you say that what Zerg is doing is bullshit if you're not reinforcing the one structure you know Zerg is going to be targeting? Your one big defensive structure, you know? So, yeah. If he was really breaking down these structures as well, I would continue to wall in behind. If he goes for the core, that's a tough one. Because I don't have space to wall in here, right? I can't build on the plate, I can't build on the ramp. So if he's going for that, I would probably build a double pylon on the top of the ramp, and I'd have a probe here. So if he does break that down and say tries to run in with speedlings, I can then build a 3rd pylon at the top of the ramp reactively, and I can completely wall that off. So that's one of those little things you've got to watch out for as well. The patience on overcharging the pylons really did allow me to do so much damage here because I saw that the situation wasn't critical. You'll notice I'm not adding extra gateways because I don't have a 3rd base in this scenario and I just don't have the money. I'm adding a robo in the main instead. But as I get more money, I will drop gateways as well.
Your probe count is being downsized.
If we go back to when the attack was first coming, something I should have been doing, especially since I knew there was an attack as well, is shading out those adepts. Remember I was saying you should always shade these adepts out. Give yourself a bit of vision in front of you. These little things just give you a bit of warning. So if you've ever got extra APM, it's not vital if you already know an all-in's coming, but it's something which is nice to just throw that out and see exactly what's coming your way. So those sort of things can really help you out a lot. So let's see where this game goes later on. I'm pretty sure I'm just going to start making immortals and move out. So Stalker is now patrolling to stop the drop. There's nothing even in it, but I've got that Stalker patrolling because I know there's a drop over there, so I just leave that unit in position. Never pull a unit away. Once you see there's a drop overlord, they can always keep dropping that angle. And notice just adding in some sentries, adepts, lots of immortal production, and I'm going for my third base. Now, once again, no vision. So what do? I send my Mothership Core out into the middle. I see how pathetic his army is, and I just go, yeah, whatever, I can just A-move that. Like, I'm just too far ahead. I probably could have taken this fight here a little bit better, but I was like, whatever, I can just fight you. It's fine, I just have too much stuff. So if you guys have any questions, do shout them out. And I will be going over those in just a second. So you can see here, I hold it. I've got way more production. He's on 31 drones versus 47 probes. Way ahead. And it works out. So shout out any questions, guys. I think I've gone over most of the points. There is one point I do want to talk about a little bit while we just kind of look at another game with a bit of a Ling elevator and so on, where I actually, once again, am very greedy and I'm not ready for the elevator. So something I want to talk about is something people often ask is, okay, wait a second. So if you go out with this adept pressure, what is to stop the Zerg player from simply having all of his roaches and zerglings ready just out at the point where your adepts shade out? And because the shades don't have vision anymore, you don't see it, so your adepts finish shading into the middle of the map, and then bam, roaches and lings wrap around them and just annihilate all your adepts, and then you lose the core of your army, so you just can't stop his push on your third. You just can't get enough units up. And as much as I say this in a kind of silly voice, it is actually a very justified question. There is a small range of really sick maneuvers that Zerg can do, which with a standard build order, you might not necessarily get wind of. However, it takes such execution to execute, like you're never going to run into it. Almost ever on ladder. 90% of the time, you could have scouted what was going on. So what was the big thing which I kept missing out on and kept being really lazy with throughout these games? My adept was not counting drones on the natural. So keep in mind, guys, I am playing at sort of I mean, my PvZ is normally mid to high-ish GM. My other Protoss matchups, not quite at that level. But my PvZ is definitely a lot better. And I don't even count drones on the natural. I'm skipping this big step, and I still stop like 90% of the crazy all-ins that come my way. Simply through having a tight build order, being good at reacting under pressure, right? So you can imagine, if I do that, suddenly I can go up to 95 or 98% of holding on against these all-ins. And even if you don't kind of realize, okay, you're like, okay, I think he's going for a pressure because I saw a few drones missing on the natural, or maybe he's really tricky. He pulls drones from the main to the natural, so you scout, you think he's got a third, he's got drones on his natural, it looks like a normal build. You shade out with your adepts. The amount of precognition that your opponent needs, the amount of execution to have their units in the exact right place so that they can instantly jump on top of those adepts and surround them is insane. To have a slow unit like a Baneling or a Roach off creep close enough to actually get on top of them is so difficult for the Zerg to actually engineer. Not only that, but people will be like, oh, but the Zerglings will just wrap around and hug your adepts. Remember, there is only a very short window from when a shade finishes. There's only a very short window from when a shade finishes to when the adept can start shading away again. I think it's like 11 seconds in total from teleporting to a shade to being able to teleport to a new shade. If I remember correctly, it's 11 seconds off the top of my head. I'll check. I will check right now in game, actually. It is, after 7 seconds, and it's 11-second cooldown. Okay, yeah, because it takes 7, so that's 4 plus 7. Yeah, it's in 11 seconds. So yeah, it takes 11 seconds. So basically, they need to set up this like perfect surround. It's almost impossible for the Zerg to set up. And a lot of the time, if the Zerg goes for this, It's number one, scoutable, because you saw they didn't have a lot of drones. It's number two, something where you can stutter step those adepts and you can take a shitload of zerglings with you before the roaches get on top of you. Half the time you can still shade on out of that. Even if you lose those adepts, as long as you kill a lot of the zerglings, sometimes you can still defend at home. Or even lose the third base if it's super all in, and then go and retake it slightly later. So even though there are some sneaky maneuvers which are very hard for Zerg to, for you to stop as a Protoss, you definitely can do it. You can stop it. It's just something where you need to pay attention to the right things. So that's a question which people always ask. They're just like, well, what if the Zerg just sets up this perfect surround? It almost never happens. Even when it does, if you micro those adepts and stutter step them, it's very hard for the Zerglings to actually surround them unless they have an obscene number of Zerglings. So guys, here's me doing the play again, but executing it kind of shittily because I forget to spot my main base. Other than that, textbook build though. I've got my 3 gateways finishing just after 4 minutes along with warp gate research. They're going to start turning into warp gates. I've got 2 adepts wedged in the minerals saying, I don't care, these Zerglings might kill those adepts, but if the adepts stay hold position in the minerals, then I can protect it. Notice I see him hitting the nexus, so I move them out, take a shot, he reacts, I pull back to the gap. I go out, I pull back. I go out, I pull back. I do not move those adepts away. I do not get tempted into chasing him into the open. I've got 2 adepts in my wall as well. Those gateways, because I was distracted, they finish morphing slightly late. However, of course, the big problem is this Zergling drop, which I just did not see at all. And this is a great example of, like I said, guys, I make a lot of mistakes. I'm not ready for everything. I kind of make up for that a little bit by reacting on the fly, but I really do recommend. I mean, one of these adepts should have been patrolling in here. If I saw that Overlord coming, I would have just pulled over 3, 4, 5 probes, and I would have cleaned that up. Instead, I have to do an emergency reaction. So I'm not sure how many Protoss players are particularly great at doing this, but what we're going to do is we're going to use the mineral walking. So we're going to watch from my point of view, my camera. And I'm a Zerg player, so I've had Zerglings in my mineral lines 4,000 times, playing Zerg, of course. Here we go. So I immediately zoom to my main base when I see these yellow dots coming. I go, shit, in my head. I panic a bit. I kind of break the first rule, which is don't panic. And I think my warp gates are done. No, they're not done, so I can't actually warp in just yet. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to click all of my probes on this mineral patch away from the Zerglings. And then, as the Zerglings come in deep, okay, let's see. Yeah, as the Zerglings come deep into the mineral line, I'm then going to click on that assimilator to try and move through the Zerglings, because whenever you click on a resource, the probes just path straight through units. And then A move as I'm on top of the Zerglings. And this way, I can make sure I surround the Zerglings and they all die very quickly. It's still not ideal, because at the end of that I lose 4 probes, but he very well could have killed an entire mineral line there. So 4 probes at the end of the day is not that bad. At the third base, I've warped in my adepts. They're all wedged here in a corner. His Zerglings are struggling to get surface area, and you can see the adepts are just so value. If you don't give your opponent surface area, they really just cannot find a good angle to attack you from.
Upgrade complete.
Now, it was only the sheer number of Zerglings at the third that actually made me warp in up here. And I also brought the Mothership Core. Otherwise, I definitely would have warped in a Stalker in the main base and immediately got that down here to get rid of this Overlord. But just prioritizing what's the most important at each moment. So now I see, of course, he's going towards my main base again. I know he's going to drop there. Probe just goes down to double check that there aren't already Zerglings in the main base. And I warp in a couple of adepts here. My Mothership Core's rotating up. It's going to come help out. I realize that he's elevatoring. He's not just unloading 8. So those adepts really have to micro back to that mineral line. And remember, always about using these choke points. Get back to the mineral line. If I have to use the probes to buffer a little bit, then I'll do it. If he runs here, grab the probes and mineral walk away. For a second, I thought about mineral walking on top of the Zerglings and fighting, and then I realized, well, that's a dumb idea. I might as well just run away from the Zerglings. There's no need to fight. Overcharge in that natural, and you can see I've cleaned up absolutely everything. This was a 23 drone mass Zergling flood with an elevator. And I took 4 probe losses and 5 adepts, I believe. So just super efficient. Make sure you always leave a Stalker to get rid of that drop. And at the end of this, it's just, it's over. Always just leaving these units wedged in these areas, and Zerglings just aren't efficient if you don't give them the angle to surround. Alright, GG's. Cool. So guys, That is most of the little details there. It really is just about having a set, super tight structure around taking a third. And if you're a Protoss player who's like, I don't want to play with a build order, then you really will be stuck playing in the lower leagues or stuck doing very aggressive, sort of cheesy builds for a long time. Legacy of the Void, especially as Protoss, you have the hero units. Every single one of these adepts like gets so much damage done, and it is so satisfying when you pull off these defenses. Like, it is one of my favorite things in the world is when a Zerg tries to all-in me as Protoss, because it is just so fun to see a single adept in a choke point take down like 7 Zerglings, to see this flood of Zerg when you've got no units, and then suddenly you warp in 3 or 4 units and an overcharge goes down and the Zerg force just evaporates. These are some of the most satisfying things. So I really think what helped me, because when I was first learning Protoss in 2016, early to mid 2016 as well, I was like, shit, man, I just died to all this random bullshit. And what really helped me was learning this kind of opening. I did it a little bit differently when I was first learning it, because I wasn't as good, I wasn't as refined. But learning this opening helped me so much. I was able to just kind of go, okay, I've got this very tight pressure, which is going to go and keep the Zerg from being very greedy. But it also happens to get me a lot of units, get me a fast third base. So I've got this strong economic foundation. Right through to the upper, kind of mid and upper levels of Diamond League, I see Protoss players just not taking third bases quickly or efficiently. Of course, there's the DT Archon drop build. If you guys actually know how to do that build, execute it tight, then I'm totally down with you doing that build, because obviously DTs are great for defending expansions. Archon drop is very powerful. Even though you take a slightly later third with that build, that's the other really solid, I'm going to get a third base up at a good timing while putting on some pressure build. But this is the most fundamental core one. And I use this exact same build order when I'm using a charge lot style. I just build charge lots instead of adepts early on. And it works just as well. It's fantastic. But anything that allows you to have this set structure where you get really good at your details, because the macro happens automatically. And let's face it, guys, there's not that much macro you have to do as a Protoss player in the very early stages. You don't have to do that many things. You really just don't, right? So focusing on having a tight build order up to, say, the 5-minute mark, getting these units out, and then you get to focus on little things like your pylon at your third, creating a perfect choke, your adepts being on hold position in those little areas, your wall off at your natural being perfectly set every single game and memorized for every map how to place that. Always spotting for that Zergling drop. These little things are it can be like, oh, this feels like too many things to learn at first, but once you get these down for the first 5 minutes of the game, from that point, you really can play by feel a lot more. But as Protoss and PvZ, you need to memorize a strong economic opening. A lot of players I've been watching, like I said, they're just not getting fast thirds. They get to the mid game and they just don't have upgrades. They don't have a big enough army because they never had the economy to do it. So if you guys do this, I really want to see a lot of Protoss players playing this out, getting a fast third consistently. And I really just want to see an end to the whine as well, because I myself, as I showed you guys that video earlier, I've been in that whiny stage where I'm like, my race can't win, this matchup's unfair, and it's so toxic, and you just don't improve, and it's so irrelevant as well. Even if your race is struggling, oh my god, like, it's so irrelevant if you're not a super high level player. It just doesn't matter. There's like 1,000 things you can improve on. When I made that video complaining about Terran being imbalanced in Wings of Liberty, like, I was such a shit player. Yes, I was in like low GM or something like that. I don't know, high GM on Southeast Asia back when it was actually an active server, but I was shit. I was absolute trash. Compared to all the things I could be improving on. A lot of the top pros back then were still making huge, terrible errors all the time. So I hope that we can all kind of actually start to create more guides like this that focus on one small piece of the puzzle, so Protoss players have a lot of resources to point towards and look towards. So I'm going to create a few more of these sort of guides, how to take a third in this matchup, how to just deal with this stage of the game, how to deal with all the different bullshit this race can throw at you, and looking at all the details that allow that to be possible. Because Protoss, it's all about having those awesome hero units, microing them properly, having them in the right position, and when you pull it off right and you've got the right practice to set up your defense, it feels better than anything else in the world. It really does. So guys, I hope you enjoyed today's daily. I kind of went on a little bit because I was looking at a lot of different situations, just looking at these little details, but yeah, I think it was all right. I knew there's like lots of things in there where normally I don't talk about these things, but I made a list of notes. I think I talked about everything in there. If I didn't, I'll write it down in the comments below. So that should be cool. Awesome. All right, guys, thanks for hanging out. That's all for today. Tomorrow will be What If Wednesdays. Finally going to be doing the no micro one and putting out a new, sorry, not What If Wednesdays, ICFAR. I'll be putting out a new ICFAR challenge tomorrow, so look forward to that. Thanks for hanging out, guys. Don't forget to hug a watermelon, kick a walrus, and of course, punch a cactus to the moon. I'll catch you guys next time. Goodbye and good night.